This week, we see the horrors of war return to the banality of its insidious nature. That means one thing: more battles, more marches, more campaigns, all resulting in more deaths, widows, and orphans. Though it is not all sad, there's a comedic duel in the middle that will bring a laugh to your room or a smile to your face. We shall turn to the siege of Charleston, South Carolina. Major General Gillmore has been using his 10th Corps to encircle and bombard the positions of General Pierre-Gustave Dutton Beauregard. He has turned Fort Sumter into rubble and taken the forward works of Fort Wagner. On the morning of the 5th, the 10th Corps bombards Fort Wagner, killing its defenders and burying their corpses under the stone. The fort's commander sends word to General Beauregard that he has only 400 men and has no hope of holding the fortifications. He asks for permission to withdraw. Beauregard grants on the 6th. By the 7th, the Union has captured Fort Wagner. While occupation of Fort Wagner, General Gillmore now has control over all of Morris Island and just one target in sight: Fort Sumter. To take Fort Sumter would be the height of his career, or just the start of everlasting fame and glory. So it's no wonder he isn't alone in wanting it. Rear Admiral Dahlgren has long since felt that the Navy has been forced to play second fiddle to the Army. It's a widespread feeling amongst the captains of Union vessels. When General Gillmore comes with plans to use the Navy's transports to take Fort Sumter, Dahlgren disagrees. Gillmore won't put him under the boot of the Army, nor will he accept his men be placed under the command of Army officers. If Gillmore wants to use ships, this will not be a joint operation, but an equal one. Gillmore reluctantly agrees. One flotilla will depart Morris Island with a regiment, and the other will leave the vessels with Marines. The moon barely lights the night of the 8th. A sliver is seen overlooking the harbor. The men of Morris Island hop into their boats and begin to push against the tide. It's low, too low, and they are forced back, but are unable or unwilling to tell the naval contingent. Commander Thomas H. Stevens, Jr. was placed in command of the naval flotilla by Admiral Dahlgren, against his wishes. He yelled at his commander that he knew nothing of the situation at Fort Sumter, and the 400 men and 25 boats were just not enough to take a fortification, even in Sumter State.
There is nothing but a corporal's guard, about 6 to 10 men in the fort, and all we have to do is go and take possession.
Stevens, outranked, was forced to follow Dahlgren's command. The 25 ships float towards their fate. The waves turn back some, and those that do land reach high cliffs and mountain faces, unable to be scaled. Their entire plane is unsalvageable, not by the enemy, but by geography. Just as the Marines on the beach had realized their position, they hear the crack of muskets. There are many more than 10 rebels manning the fort. There are over 300. Those in the ships try to return with their muskets or revolvers, but the low illumination of the moon ruins their accuracy, and their shots are more likely to land by their allies than their opponents. Those who had landed stopped their scaling attempt, as futile as it was, and hid behind whatever shelter they could find. The commotion at Fort Sumter was so great that a signal rocket was fired, alerting the Confederate Navy to the situation, who then opened fire on the Union vessels. This caused the collapse of the Federals, as the rowboats that could left, stranding those on the beach who were forced to surrender. The Union lost 8 killed and 4 wounded they could drag back to hospital ships, and 105 succumbed to the rebels. In confusion, not a single Confederate was dead or injured. Discounting the disruption to their sleep schedule, which, while important, could have been done much easier. The Union bombardment continues on Fort Sumter, but no land assault will be made anytime soon. The following action of this week is a duel between 2 Confederate officers. The animosity between officers and the rebel army is nothing new, but a duel between generals is unprecedented. General John S. Marmaduke and General Lucius M. Walker have recently been at each other's throats. At the Battle of Helena a month ago, Walker left Marmaduke's flank open, leading to the unnecessary deaths of Marmaduke's men. Now, after Lieutenant General Theophilus Holmes fell ill, Major General Sterling Price took over, the unthinkable happened. Marmaduke is placed under the command of Walker. This is new because Walker hasn't been trusted much. While he is senior to Marmaduke, he has never held a position over him until now. Then 2 minor skirmishes were had, where Marmaduke did the brunt of the work while under Walker. And now, a rumor spreads that Marmaduke claimed full responsibility for the victories, called Walker a damn coward after transferring out from under Walker. General Walker tells his friend, Robert F. Crockett, to write and demand an explanation from Marmaduke. Crockett delivers his words to John C. Moore, a friend of Marmaduke. Marmaduke has Moore reply, claiming he never used the word coward, but agreed with the sentiment and insulted his leadership in the skirmishes. A duel is agreed to by the 2 parties, with Colt 1861s being used, 15 paces apart. as Marmaduke's sight doesn't allow for long range. General Price learns of the duel and demands it stopped. Walker never receives the order, and Marmaduke doesn't care. Morning of the 6th, dawn at a farm, the two sides meet. They march, turn around, and both miss. But honor isn't satisfied. They march, turn, and Marmaduke lands a shot. Crockett yells that the duel is over, rushes to Walker's side, and hears through gurgled blood that Walker knows he is dying. On the 7th, he succumbs to his mortal wounds, and all 30 survivors of the duel are arrested, but are soon let go by Price. After the internal conflict of the rebels, it's time for one of their humiliating defeats. For a while, the Confederacy has held the Cumberland Gap, reclaiming it since its loss of it last year. Still, with General Lee Rosecrans putting pressure on General Braxton Bragg further south, the call goes out to General Simon Buckner, who occupies the gap, to move to Bragg and reinforce him. Buckner leaves behind General John Fraser with 2 brigades numbering 2,300 men to hold the gap. In late August, as General Burnside moved to take Knoxville, he realized the threat of Fraser and dispatched Colonel de Courcy to hold Fraser at bay. This was successful, and Burnside took Knoxville on the 2nd. By the 7th, Burnside has reached the Cumberland Gap and moves to encircle Fraser. He does so, and on the 9th, Fraser surrenders with his men. After the total embarrassment of the Confederacy at the Cumberland, we move to Texas for the complete humiliation of the Union. Major General Nathaniel P. Banks won a great victory for the Union with his capture of Port Hudson. Well, I say great. The position he took was essential, but the cost of his capture was horrifically high. Banks wishes to get the fame he believes he deserves, and to do so, he orders Major General William B. Franklin, the former Corps commander in the Army of the Potomac, for the first 2 years of the war to assault Sabine Pass in Texas in coordination with the Navy. The assault of the pass goes terribly. Lousy intelligence, mixed with inaccurate information of the depths of the waters, leads to ships being grounded. The entire thing is a mess from start to finish. The Union lost 2 gunboats captured against an entirely land-based opponent of 50 men. The Union suffered a combined 24 killed and wounded, 37 missing, and 315 surrendered to 50 Confederate cannoneers. Banks again takes embarrassing casualties, this time for a loss. As we near the end of this week, we get to see the culmination of a campaign. The state of Arkansas has seen the armies of Major General Frederick Steele of the Union clash with Lieutenant General Theophilus Holmes under the command of rebel Missourian Sterling Price. The prize of this battle for the particular state is its capital, Little Rock. Steele brings 10,500 men to against the nearly 8,000 defenders of Little Rock. On the 9th, the Union constructs a pontoon bridge. On the 10th, the two sides meet outside the city at the Bayou Force to decide its fate. 2 Federal regiments charge over the bridge in a burst of action and push hard against a Confederate brigade under Colonel Dobbins of the Confederacy. This creates a valuable beachhead that allows 2 of Steele's troops to cross over and continue the assault in force. The rebels fall back to the bayou and are nearing their breaking point as reinforcements of cavalry and infantry stream in. Dobbins is replaced by the man directing that stream, the murderer, General John S. Marmaduke. The rebel line in the bayou separates the 2 Union brigades, or troops, holding one at bay with their effective use of volley fire, aided by their heavy guns. As the 2nd Brigade approaches Marmaduke's flank, he is forced to flee the battlefield and hand the victory and capital to General Steele. The Union did suffer higher casualties to claim the city, with 18 dead and 119 wounded or missing, to the rebels 12 dead and 52 wounded or missing. Still, the Union can officially reclaim the state. Maybe the propaganda that can be made off that claim will be worth it alone. Then there's the final action of this week, and it is in Tennessee, where Colonel John T. Wilder of the Union is bombarding the Confederates at Chattanooga. While he is holding the rebels down there, the remaining Federal Army under General Rosecrans has moved against the mountains holding their enemy, the Army of Tennessee. On the 10th, the 14th Corps of the Army of the Cumberland under Major General George Henry Thomas moves against a pass by Missionary Ridge. He sends forward the division of General Negley, supported by General Baird. They near Doug's Pass when they hear rebel reinforcements, and the Army of the Cumberland falls back, waiting for reinforcements of their own. The rebels take the time to prepare, as General Braxton Bragg orders General Thomas Hinman to assault Negley's division on the flanks, after receiving reinforcements, the men of General Claiborne, who will support him, who will assault from another angle. The extra units don't come, and Claiborne and Hinman meet in confusion, decide that they will not take offensive action without further support. You know, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Inca Peduta. Which friend? I remember. Dear Field Marshal, please save me. he'll come to my aid. Then there is Sickles. He appears in the papers, which is an extraordinary event for an unemployed general, but expected from a man the caliber of Sickles.
It must be a pretty severe pastime for a man with only one leg to undertake deer hunting upon horseback, but a few would attempt it. But the indomitable will, perseverance, and energy of General Sickles are such as will enable him to accomplish this most difficult task, as the results shown most successfully.
High words of praise, well deserved. That's where the week ends, and my lord was it a long one. Though I'm overall happy with its effects, the problems of the Confederacy are compounding. They haven't had the best morale since the losses of July, but the murder of Walker by Marmaduke brought it to a new low, and the freeing of him by Price because they needed an able commander is telling that the rebel cause is out of experienced officers. Even Marmaduke's thoughtful leadership wasn't enough to save Little Rock, and one more state is now returned to the Union, hopefully the first of many. But that leaves us to next week. Hello, it's the entire 4 week by week team here. As you can tell, it's my first week in a new set. I've moved out of my mom's basement into a overall pretty crammed room. I know there's been a lot of changes to the video. If you have any problems, please tell me, though I would appreciate kindness, as it's been quite a bit. Once again, the normal, if you watched the video, please like it, please share it around, and please subscribe if you haven't yet. And of course, I will see you next week.